Welcome back to the PFF NFL show. Trevor, Sikkema, and Seth Galina here with you guys for a Week 15 quarterback showcase edition of the show. Got some heavy hitter names that we're talking about here on the program as we review some performances from Week 15. We're going to talk about Baker Mayfield, a little bit of a hot streak here for the Buccaneers, back on top of the NFC South, see if they can close out that division. We got to talk about Lamar because everybody's talking about Josh Allen, but then, MVP, runaway MVP. Lamar this past week, not so fast, my friend. And then we also have to talk about Patrick Mahomes, one of the lowest graded games of his career this past week. He suffered the ankle injury, but even before the ankle injury, man, it's tough for Mahomes. How much is it on him? Is he really regressing? What does it look like for Mahomes? We'll dig in all that good stuff. Seth, how you feel, my friend?
Great. I've only eaten potato chips. It's 10 a.m. I've only eaten potato chips this morning. I feel great.
Yeah, but what kind?
Look, I'm going to say what kind, and then we're going to have a whole discussion about it because it's only available.
I didn't want to talk about quarterbacks anyways, so go ahead. Go ahead.
All dress chips.
What is this? What is that?
Exactly.
What is this? What is this?
I knew this.
What are you doing? You threw Canadian chips. What is this? What is an all-dressed chips?
It's like, it's just all dressed. It's like whatever you can fucking think about. Sorry, you're making me mad now. I knew this was going to happen, and I shouldn't have brought it up in the first place, and it's my fault. But all dressed chips are my favorite type of chips. Do you guys have ketchup chips in America? My two favorite types of chips, all dressed in ketchup.
What did you say to me?
Yeah, you heard right.
Ketchup flavored chips?
Yeah. And they're delicious.
Look, I don't know. I actually don't know if this is more unhinged or less unhinged. I could understand regular potato chips and like dipping them in ketchup. I could understand that. But a ketchup,
that's too much for me.
But a ketchup flavor, what do you mean it's too much for you? You're baking the ketchup flavor into the chip.
It's just, we're more cultured than you guys.
Oh, okay? My goodness.
We have a wider range of flavors that we accept in our lives.
You do have a wider range. It's lower. That's the range. You're not. The ceiling is the same. We're just lowering the floor. The floor is now just through the Earth's crust here with where we're going with potato chips. All right. Now I have to hear from people. Please comment on the show. It doesn't have to do anything with quarterbacks. I need to hear. Do you know what all dressed chips are? Have you had them? Are they good? And is ketchup-flavored chips the most unhinged thing you've ever heard? Because it's kind of up there for me. Speaking of ketchup-flavored chips, I don't know how this is a transition, but it could be. We're just going to go with it. Baker Mayfield is playing hot. He's playing well right now for the Buccaneers. Big-time win against the Los Angeles Chargers, 40-17 this past week. He was 22 for 27, including 8 for 8 in the second half, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. And this past week, he had one big-time throw. He had 2 turnover-worthy plays here in this game. Man, this Buccaneers offense is humming. What'd you think about Baker Mayfield? Obviously, it's a lot of points to be putting up. I didn't think they put up that many points against a Los Angeles defense, especially with them going on the road all the way across the country. But it was a great performance by them. Big performance by Mike Evans, who is obviously in pursuit of that 1,000-yard season still after missing some time. What'd you think about Mayfield? Because a lot of people look at Mayfield and they look at Liam Cohen as well, their offensive coordinator, kind of that chemistry that they have right now. So what do you think about Mayfield?
I'm a fan right now, and I think my overall point here with Mayfield is going to be he had great seasons or like good to great seasons with 4 different OCs now. You have Freddie Kitchens right away, rookie year. Then you have Stefanski. Then you have Dave Canales, and now you have Liam Cohen. And I'm just like, all right, at some point, we have to say like some of it is on him. Like, I know we were so easy to say Stefanski is great, Dave Canales got a job out of it, Liam Cohen's gonna get a job out of it, like, and they've been great. Like, it's not to say that those guys aren't great, but at the same time, like, there is a constant factor here, and that constant is Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying he's the top 10 quarterback, no, but he doesn't fluctuate between the 11th ranked quarterback in the league and the 12th ranked quarterback in the league. And that's fine. Like, that's good. Like, you can win games that way. You can win games that way, especially with the fact that now they have a real run game, which is super exciting, I think, for them. to have a run game, to find the running back that has great vision, can break tackles, can make guys miss in space. But I really think his patience and his vision with Bucky Irving is his best trait. And then your O-line is not awful. And I was telling this to someone the other day, but when you look at this offensive line that could not run the ball for like 2 straight seasons in 22 and 23, PFF has talked about this a lot. But I'm using PFF as a monolith, as if we're not like 1,000 different people. But PFF has said this, like, your O-line is only as good as your weakest unit, right? It's a weak links type of unit situation. You have Tristan Wirfs this whole time. He is an elite player. He is arguably one of the best tackles in the game at either side, right? We saw him play on one side. He gets flipped to the other side. He's still an elite player. Did that matter? Not one bit in terms of their run game, in terms of their pass pro. So what's happened is you go get, Gedeke has been above average, solid for 2 years. You draft Cody Mock. He's awful as a rookie. He's not awful anymore. Solid player. You draft Graham Barton. That upgrades your center. He's average at least, which is fine. You go get Ben Bredesen. He's average at least. That's fine. And all of a sudden, and then you go and get probably a better pure running back in Bucky Irving than Rachaad White. I mean, not probably, he is. White has his strengths, but it's probably not as a guy who takes handoffs. And so you get in the situation where it's like, oh, all of a sudden we don't have the worst. Like, we have the best tackle, but we have 4 other spots that are useless.
Yeah,
we don't have that anymore. There's not big holes on the offensive line, and they've been really great. And it's really fun to see. And I think with Baker specifically, he's making plays outside the pocket. He's making plays under pressure. He goes through peaks and valleys when it comes to that type of play, like the play outside of structure. When he's hitting on those plays, they're a great offense. The issue is going to be, does he try and make those plays more than he should? And then you get the valley, and now we have a problem in the playoffs. But if he's making those plays in the playoffs, I mean, the sky really is the limit for this offense. And the defense has played really good the last 4 weeks as well. So it's exciting times in Tampa Bay, I think.
Baker just seems to be making a lot of plays, and you and I were chatting a little bit about this before we hit record, but like with his legs, and it's not something that it doesn't always go well for him. Sometimes I think that Baker maybe thinks he's a little bit more athletic than he actually is, but certainly that escapability, that mobility to get outside the tackles matters a lot for him. And that's been an area where he's really played well, in my opinion. And again, it's not perfect, because it's not like the PFF grades on the run or under pressure, or even in normal situations, are through the roof, but they are much more stable. They are much better, and they are giving him a chance to, his team, I should say, a chance to win every single week. And the production that you saw to Mike Evans, I think, was very needed. When Chris Godwin goes down, obviously Mike Evans goes down with him, but specifically when Chris Godwin goes down with an injury where he's not going to come back, I mean, that's a dire thing. I mean, your offense is built around those two guys, and when those two players were out, Cade Otton was still able to step up. Sterling Shepard was able to step up. Now we're seeing Jalen McMillan be able to step up. So it's sort of been these unsung heroes, and I think that you did a great job bringing up sort of Baker Mayfield's journey really over the last couple of years, and all the different teams and offensive coordinators. But even in a smaller time frame here, just this year, I mean, you're planning on throwing to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 all-pro wide receivers. Both of them go down, and you're still able to have a productive offense. To me, that speaks again to the confidence that Baker Mayfield has with his players. And the chemistry that he has with Liam Cohen. And I do agree with you 100%. The run game being a reliable part of this offense cannot be understated. I just talked about this with Ollie Conley when we were talking about the In the Trenches show, and we were highlighting the Buccaneers offensive line there as well. But it is night and day different, the run game for Tampa Bay last year compared to this year. And I think that they were really sort of trying to figure out what their identity was like, with Dave Canales as the offensive coordinator and the play caller last year, with Baker it being his first year in Tampa, still figuring things out within the offensive line. Obviously, Bucky Irving was not there yet. And it's a much better version of the offense, and Cohen's got this thing humming with Mayfield. Now, he still gets in a little bit of trouble, right, when it comes to some of the decisions that he makes, but that's sort of the quarterback that you just got to live with. Like, that is just Baker Mayfield. That's sort of who he is as a quarterback. And so, independent of the run game and the offense really helping him out, just overall, what the Bucs have been able to do with Liam Cohen and himself, what have you seen from Baker? Is this the best version of Baker Mayfield? Statistically and PFF grade-wise, I think there's 1 year in Cleveland where he was still better, had a little bit better output, had a little bit higher PFF passing grades, but man, he's just playing with so much confidence right now.
Probably. I mean, I loved him in his rookie year when he was playing without a conscience in that rookie year like that, which is a long time ago at that point. But at this point, yeah, I think one of the things that I will say, like, yeah, he's great. Probably the best he's ever played. And I think that one of the differences between Canales and Liam Cohen, and it's not really Canales' fault, is like because they didn't have a run game last year, there was so many quick throws, like quick game concepts, not necessarily like quick throws, but quick game concepts. So it's like slants and quick outs and stuff that was like over the ball, like quick stuff over the ball. Because they have a run game, because they didn't have a run game, right? They just like that was their run game, and it was like that in the last Brady year as well. And so because they have a run game now you have play action, now you have deeper drop backs, now you can protect for longer, because you're not getting beat on the interior, center guard, like they were last year. So they can hit the ball in these like kind of chunky parts over the middle of the field. When you get one-on-ones, you have Mike Evans, one of the best one-on-one players in the league still. And then when you get too high, which has generally been, Mike Evans' kind of kryptonite to a certain degree, he's been throwing the ball unbelievably well in that like 10 to 15-yard range over the linebackers in front of the safeties. When you get too high, it's been great to watch. So I'm a fan. I think there seems like also like, just like from an outside perspective, like looking in, like he seems like a good dude. Like people seem to like playing for him or playing with him, Baker Mayfield, that is. So again, I think there's a chance that this team goes on a run. I think it probably more depends on the defense that, like I said, has played well the last 4 weeks. Not the greatest offenses, other than probably the Chargers has been the best one they played in that time frame. But it's been good. And I was ready to put the knife in Todd Bowles' back because they weren't really that good for most of the season, but they've been good the last 4 weeks. So who knows if that's sticky and that'll continue.
I tweeted this out in a little bit more colorful language than this, but when this Buccaneers team in particular is winning, they are so much fun to watch. I mean, it's such an easy group to root for. Baker Mayfield is such an easy quarterback to root for. So I agree with you. I mean, when things are going well, I mean, the vibes are extremely high with a guy like Mayfield. The fans love him. I think the front office and the coaching staff love him. The players love him. And it just it's sort of the rally around him type of a mentality. And so it feels like perfect case scenario right now with the Buccaneers. It's a little dangerous because they've dropped 2 games to the Atlanta Falcons, so they lose the tiebreaker no matter what. So if the Falcons tie them in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the record, they will get the division over the Buccaneers, but they do have a 1-game lead there. Just looking it up right now, it's no coincidence that the years in which Baker Mayfield also had some of his highest rushing grades, he also had some of his highest passing grades, because that is sort of who he is as a quarterback. It's who he was when he was at Oklahoma, and it's been when he has been at his best at the NFL level. So the touchdown to the big time throw to turnover worthy play ratio this year compared to last year, so it was a little bit better last year, and it was a little bit better in those first 2 years in Cleveland. But this is actually the year where he has the highest quarterback rating. So making really good decisions, and obviously we're seeing great output like we saw in that Chargers game. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson next. The Baltimore Ravens win against the New York Giants 35-14. That's not really the talking point because the Ravens were heavily favored in this game. Giants, one of the worst teams in the NFL, currently have the number 2 overall pick. Lamar Jackson in this game, though, 21 for 25, 290 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and he had 5 big-time throws. It's not often that you get a mimicked touchdown to big-time throw number there, but I think what's so awesome about this, Dalton Washington on the review show pointed this out, a lot of those big time throws, I think most of those big time throws, maybe 4 out of the 5 were touchdown throws. And anytime that's the case, I mean, those are the ones that really stand out to you. He also had the 4 explosive runs as well. And so, I want to hear about Lamar Jackson sort of independently here with you and how he played in this game. And it just felt like it was the best version of Lamar. But it was also a reminder game from Lamar where as the odds are sort of running away now for Josh Allen to win MVP, Lamar feels like he's having a better year than he had last year. And he won MVP last year. So I think the MVP conversation should be a lot closer than Vegas is giving it credit for between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. But what did you think about Lamar this week?
Yeah, I mean, he's great again. I think people will talk about them playing the Giants. But they did what you're supposed to do against the Giants. And like this is the NFL. Like there's not a lot of blowouts like this on a given week in the NFL. They dominated them. Like he was awesome. The throws, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but the throws horizontally, like going across the middle, or even like those speed outs that they like, he's so on the money with those throws. He's making plays with his legs like he always does. A stat that I looked up recently was when pressure gets to the quarterback in under 2.5 seconds, the league average expected points added per those plays is negative 0.3, which is like really low. It's extremely low. Like bad things are happening when you get pressured in the 2.5 seconds. The only 2 teams who have a positive EPA per play on those plays are the 2 teams you just talked about, Buffalo Bills and the Ravens, who are number 1 by a bit. Like, you can't get to this guy. Like that's the thing. Like, oh, we're gonna blitz him, and we'll get there quickly, and he makes a play. And it's like, oh well, we're gonna run a 4-man rush because we have this elite, edge player or D lineman, whatever, and he's gonna win quickly because they don't have a great offensive line, and it doesn't matter. Like he makes a play. That's kind of where we are now with these guys, and that's what makes them MVP candidates, him and Josh Allen, because they're both doing that at such a high level. I think it's also just like when we talk about the type of quarterbacks we want to draft, that's why we look at these guys and we're like, hey, if they figure it out, these are the guys that are going to win MVPs forever. So did I love Josh Allen? I've kind of changed my way of thinking about quarterback prospects since Josh Allen, to be honest. But like, did I love Josh Allen in college? No, I thought he was like shouldn't be drafted. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
This guy was just running around and doing weird stuff at Wyoming, and it's like, well, now we see why. Because if you can get a little bit of the accuracy down and the decision making down early on, you just have a great player. And Lamar was a little different because Lamar was always a smart passer. He just early in his career, the kind of execution of the play called for him wasn't very good in his rookie year. And then all of a sudden he like wins the MVP in the second year because that clicked and everything else is there. All the athletic ability is there. So yeah, I mean, I like everything he did against the Giants. I mean, they're like I said, the throws to horizontally across the field were amazing. He did also throw some vertical throws on the corner routes, on the kind of seam there for the last touchdown. Great player. I don't know. I don't really have I'm kind of okay with all the top guys winning this MVP award. I don't care if it's Lamar or Josh or Saquon. Like those to me would be my 3. I mean, dude, if they put Burrow in there, I'm down. Like they're just having great years, and I'm loving watching all of them.
Yeah, I think that Josh Allen, I feel is such a runaway favorite because of the record of the team. If the Ravens were sitting there at 12-2 as well, I got to believe that the odds for MVP would be a lot closer. But again, I don't think that quarterbacks, I don't think wins are fully a quarterback stat. Obviously, quarterbacks go a long way into wins, but I think that that's a little ridiculous that it's as wide as it is. And I don't mean that as any Josh Allen slander. He's been unbelievable. And to be honest with you, it'd be really cool if Josh Allen got an MVP trophy, because we don't always get that, right? Like the best quarterbacks, the top-rated quarterbacks, even the ones who go, like look at Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence never won a Heisman, right? And we thought, like, for sure, of the 3-4 years that he was going to play in college, he was going to at least win one. And he didn't. He didn't win one. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, that kind of, it stinks. It's like his football career, he never really got that. And Josh Allen has played well enough over the last 4 years to put himself in MVP conversation. So for him to win one, I'm not going to complain too much about it. But just what Lamar did with his arm this past week, the first big-time throw, the touchdown to Mark Andrews, where it's a too high shell. They rotate one of the safeties down, so it's a little bit of a robber look. But he absolutely fires this ball straight over the shoulder of Isaiah Simmons in between the two safeties to get to Mark Andrews. And it's honestly, Seth, it's throws like that I will watch a prospect make. Like here's a great example. I'm watching Cam Ward from Miami because I'm filling out his scouting report for the upcoming quarterback class. There's a handful of throws that could be like just like that, where I go, damn, that was sick. I don't know if that gets completed at the NFL level. And then I watch Lamar do it, right? I watch something like that, and it's almost like you watch that throw from Lamar, that kind of throw, and you just go, cool. I don't know if that gets completed most of the time, but it does, because he's got that type of ability. I mean, the throw in the corner to Rashad Bateman, I mean, just absolutely carving up cover three at all times. And you talk about, what he is like with his legs and how it's so hard to get him down. Man, as a passer, I know we're far beyond, talking about Lamar as a running back playing quarterback. I mean, we're so far removed from that. I mean, that argument doesn't even exist anymore. But I still think that this guy doesn't get enough praise for what he is as a passer, because his timing was perfect against cover three against the Giants. The Giants played so much cover three this past week because they played man a lot to start the season, and they really struggled. So I think they've moved on, and they're like, well, can't play man, so let's just figure it out and play zone. They don't really have the chemistry within their secondary to play zone correctly. There's a couple of lapses in, okay, like I got this guy, he's coming into my zone, now he's going into your zone, and just that chemistry is not airtight the way that it needs to be to play zone coverage really well at the NFL level. And the second that there was even a sliver of light of where he could throw the football, Lamar was not only looking at it, he was ready to throw, and he ripped it. And it's just so many of those big-time throws were beautiful timing throws of when to attack cover three with a lot of arm talent like we know he has. So that was also just so impressive to me, not just the overall ability, but the timing of when he was getting to it, I think was just so impressive from Lamar. And honestly, it has been all year.
That was also just a really nice play design on the Mark Andrews touchdown, because they made it seem like Andrews was setting a pick for, I believe, likely coming across underneath. And then he kind of stutters for a second and then goes and completely killed Isaiah Simmons, like you said. I think Cam Ward is such an interesting fella because that's the type of quarterback that I probably would want to draft, right?
Yeah.
Like let's just take a shot at one of these guys and because if it works out, you have a quarterback for a long time that's always going to be in the MVP discussion, because he's always going to be able to make those type of plays.
Yep.
It's just really hard to think like, hey, everything's going to be perfect all the time, and we're going to throw from the pocket, and the coordinator is going to call the right play all the time. And it's like, that just doesn't happen. So at least early on in a guy's career, and we're still early on in Allen and Lamar's career, their ability to make things work when the play call isn't right, when they haven't set the protection right, when they haven't audibled correctly because of a different look that they shouldn't snap the ball into this defensive look, and they do anyways because they're just not there yet. And you can still have a positive outcome on those plays. And just those are the quarterbacks that are important, right? Like that's just, I know it's hard to like believe sometimes, because we see these quarterbacks who we love because they throw from the pocket, and it looks like they're throwing with great anticipation and doing all that stuff, and their production is great, yards per attempt, yards, whatever, touchdowns. Then it's hard to sustain these guys if they're not, especially early in the careers, if they don't have the ability to create outside of structure when the offensive coordinator is not calling the right play all the time. And so that's why these guys like Lamar and Allen and Mahomes and even like a Herbert and Burrow, especially Burrow this season, like they're always going to be up there because they can always do that stuff. They can always put out fires. So much of playing quarterback is putting out fires. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady and Drew Brees and those guys put out fires kind of pre-snap and then quickly post-snap. These guys put out fires a little longer post-snap, but the result is to a certain degree the same. And it's exciting to watch both these guys have MVP type seasons.
All right, we're going to get to Mahomes next, but before we get to him, the New Year's, it's a great time to reevaluate the financial goals, not just for yourself, but also for your kids. Now's the perfect time to make sure that your kids are on a path towards a great financial future. A kids investment account from Fabric by Gerber Life is quick and simple to set up and lets you invest in their future now for education, big milestones, and so much more. Fabric by Gerber Life, it was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a kids investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. The kids, they cannot invest when they are minors, but a kids investment account allows you to invest on their behalf, and it gives their investments plenty more time to grow. The whole thing is online. It's very easy to set up an account. Take just 5 minutes, and then you can just manage your child's account right from your phone. It's a situation where, you could use things when they're younger, like tuition or summer camps or after-school activities, things like that. Or maybe if you want to keep it a little bit longer than that, a first car, a first home, starting a business, whatever. The benefits are multifaceted. It starts with just $20. No contribution limits on it, tax advantages. Funds are SIPC insured up to $500,000. No commission fees, just a low flat monthly maintenance fee. You can join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child's future today at meetfabric.com/NFL. That is meetfabric, MEET, fabric.com/PFF. NFL. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. So Patrick Mahomes leaves the game against the Cleveland Browns. His team wins 21-7 in the end, but leaves in the fourth quarter due to a high ankle sprain, and it looks like he is week to week moving forward. Independent of that ankle injury for Patrick Mahomes, it was not his best day. 19 for 38 passing, just 159 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, but when you look at the PFF stats, a 42.3 passing grade in this one. He had 3 turnover-worthy plays compared to just 0 big-time throws, and that 42.3 passing grade was the 3rd lowest single-game passing grade of his career. So, look, Chiefs fans will tell you, hey, Mahomes did what he needed to do to get the win, and they won the game, and we're not here to take the victory away from the Kansas City Chiefs. But in a year in which the Chiefs have not looked like the Chiefs that we are used to, seeing Mahomes struggle the way that he did against the Cleveland Browns now sort of raises the question, where are we at with Mahomes this year? When you looked at the film of how he played against the Browns before he went out with that ankle injury, Seth, what do you think about Mahomes and him moving forward, specifically what you saw from him in this game?
So I think, well, first of all, him being injured is great for my theory that, so I shouldn't say him being injured is great for anything, but selfishly, it's great for my theory about how there's really only 2 quarterbacks who would look anywhere decent or even average in this offense. So if Carson Wentz comes in, who's basically a replacement level player at this point in his career, if he comes in, there's a chance this thing looks horrifyingly bad. And they got a tough Texans defense this week. So it has a chance to be horrifyingly bad because there's only one quarterback, really, that could make this offense work, and it's Patrick Mahomes. So I'm excited. Now, I do think in a one-game sample size, any NFL quarterback can look good, but I might not be proven right away. Certainly proven right when Sam Howell came in behind that offensive line instead of Geno Smith on Sunday night. But So I look at that and I say, okay, he had a low passing grade. He had a lot of turnover-worthy plays. But so many of those turnover-worthy plays are him just like, what else are you supposed to do? Like, there's not a lot of guys open. They can't hit anything down the field still. So like he's like in the pocket, he's bouncing around guys in the pocket. He gets up, he throws his ball, like he contorts his body to throw this ball to a guy who's like covered pretty well. And now you throw it an inch behind to a guy that's covered pretty well. And it's a turnover worthy play instead of like a big time play. And if you throw the exact same ball to a guy who's not covered as well, then the receiver has a little bit more ability to kind of turn back and make a play on the ball and make a catch. So I'm like, I don't think it's like it's something that I'm worried about going forward. I am worried about this offense going forward. I've been worried about it the whole season. I was not necessarily worried about Patrick Mahomes' play because I think he's still an amazing quarterback. And like I said, I mean, there were some insane plays that are an inch away from us talking about, oh, Patrick Mahomes is insane again. There's so many. There was one to Noah Gray. There's one on the sail route to. Sorry, it wasn't a sail route. It was a deep crosser to Travis Kelce that he overthrew a bit. Like, so I'm not worried about that. Obviously, like, you want him to be healthy going into the playoffs, and it looks they're close. Obviously, like Buffalo's on their heels, but they are close to getting a bye. So that would be the issue, right? If he doesn't play and this offense looks as bad as I think it could look with Carson Wentz, then that's an issue. Like, you really want this bye week to get healthy. But other than that, like, man, Patrick Mahomes is good. Like, what? Like, he's good. That's it. End of discussion.
It's worth bringing up, not that we were going to totally trash Patrick Mahomes. I do agree with you. I think that the 3 turnover-worthy plays, they feel sort of non-Mahomes-like, and I think it's a culmination of some frustrations he's had throughout the year, because when you look at his stats, he's only got 15 big-time throws and 14 turnover-worthy plays. I mean, it's almost dead even. His big-time throw to turnover-worthy play percentage and ratio as a whole. And I think that, again, that just points to how frustrating this season has been. And it feels like he is a man alone in that offense. Guys have been hurt. They've been in and out of the lineup. Travis Kelce, his constant is no longer consistent. It's no longer the big difference maker. Not that Travis Kelce is not a pivotal player of what they do. He's just not the Travis Kelce of old. And so when you take that away, and now you've got a mixed bag of receivers and running backs and things like that throughout the season, it's tough, especially in the offensive tackle position. Like, they have struggled as well. The interior offensive line is fantastic, but that offensive tackle, they have struggled throughout the past few games, or I should just say for this season as a whole. So when you look at Mahomes, he is putting the ball in harm's way, but I do agree with you. It's almost like if he does not do that, they will not win the game. He has to be able to take these chances to complete some of them and to maybe, regret some of them. But if he doesn't have that formula, then it's just going to be, well, we're not going to move the ball the way that we need to, and we're just not going to win football games. And instead, they've put themselves in a situation to where it's been a little bit of a coin flip at times. It's been a little bit of okay, the ball has been bouncing our way, and it's been bouncing their way very well, I would say, through 15 weeks of the season. But they've still put themselves in position to get a little bit of luck on their side, and I think that's to their credit as well. So Mahomes, to me, I don't know. Is it, when I'm watching these turnover-worthy plays from him, 2 out of the 3, one of them was over the middle. One of them was just kind of like it was a double curl route. Travis Kelce was running the curl, and I think it was DeAndre Hopkins that were running this curl route over the middle. And he just chose to prioritize Hopkins. He threw the ball to Hopkins. He was a little bit more covered. It would have taken, I think, from the opposite hash to get to Travis Kelce to complete a pass. The linebacker was right there. He might have been able to undercut it. So I sort of understand how we got to that decision on one of those turnover-worthy plays. The other 2 were him trying to take shots down the field. I believe it was out routes or corner routes, I should say, from either tight ends or the slot position, where the defense was just ready for it. The corners that might have been sinking a little bit on a cover 2 assignment, okay, they were getting a little bit deeper and they were affecting the throwing window. The safety, they were sitting there and they were ready for it. The linebacker even trailing, I think that final turnover-worthy play that he had, they were ready for it. It also seems like a compounding situation where teams, like we have seen over the last couple of years, are just playing the Chiefs in these cover 2 situations because they're saying we're not going to let you beat us deep. Because we know if Patrick Mahomes has a favorable option to attack vertically down the field, he's going to see that pre-snap and he's going to kill us if we get to that point post-snap. So it also sort of feels like a combination of, it's sort of worst case scenario for the Chiefs. Mahomes knows he has to put the ball in harm's way a little bit more because he has to be a little bit riskier because he has to complete these passes. He's also facing more cover 2 than almost any other quarterback because of how terrified defenses are. So you have this situation where teams are very willing to play deep coverage against you, and Mahomes knows he has to push it kind of no matter what, or else they're just not going to score enough points to win games. And I think that's how we get to results like we saw this past week. Do you sort of agree with how I'm getting to that point with the logic of Mahomes?
Yeah, 100%. I would say the one play, and I said every play was okay, but the one play that was really bad was the one he threw to, I think, Noah Gray on like a post.
Yes.
And there was like literally a post safety standing there, and he just kind of threw it. And he had a chance. He saw it the whole way. I think maybe he thought he could beat the post safety like over the top or something, but that was a bad one. But again, they're trying like, yeah, there's just a lot. Like he feels like he has to do everything. It's the same situation. Like they haven't been able to run the ball the last 3 games. And that was the thing so last year they couldn't run the ball at all. They started the season first, 11 weeks or whatever, running the ball at an efficient clip, not explosive, but efficient. And now I always felt like there was a chance that this collapsed on them. And the last 3 weeks, they have neither been efficient or explosive. We'll see if it's just 3 weeks. Like I'm not willing to like say this is how it's going to be forever, but there was always a chance that this could happen. So that is something to look out for going forward. It's like if they can't run the ball again like last year, and now it's even more on Patrick Mahomes' plate, man, it's going to be tough. Like it's going to be tough. Like if there's anyone who can do it, it's Patrick Mahomes, but like, man, it's going to be tough. And then there's the Xavier Worthy thing, which like so funny to me because and I don't have an opinion whether he's a good receiver or not. He's playing, he's in his like 12th game in his like 15th game in the NFL. But I think one of my issues is everyone will say like, oh, look at him. He's so wide open. Like when he gets down the field, he's so wide open. And it's like, man, like, wow, how often are you supposed to throw the ball on like a deep post route or a deep corner route? Like, yeah, he was open on one of the corner routes when they blitzed, when Cleveland blitzed. But like, that's not what a receiver, like certainly not what a first round or a top, 40 pick receiver should be. Is just the guy that goes deep and catches a ball every once in a while. Had some nice plays on bubble screens and stuff. They threw the speed outs to him, which were nice, but like I'm waiting to see like, can he be a focal point? There's not a lot of guys that are like Deshaun Jackson and Randy Moss and Tyreek Hill who can be vertical and who can track the ball and can do all the stuff. There's more John Rosses out there, right? Like that's the concern. Like, oh, well, they can't throw vertical, so let's just get the fastest guy. And it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily change anything. Yeah, it might help them on a bubble screen, which we saw, but I'm not sure that it's changed them enough. And it's why they have to go out and get DeAndre Hopkins, who at least is somewhat of a ball winner. Well, I mean, he is a ball winner. I'm just saying he's less so than he was in his prime. But
right.
He had some fucking sick catches this year, though.
Right.
In contested situations, I'll tell you that much, especially this weekend.
No, he's still got it.
So I guess that's my concern.
Yeah, he's still got it. They definitely needed him in this offense. There's no doubt about it. And it'd be even tougher to imagine this passing attack without him. Let's go for a little bonus. You said before the show you might have some Tua Tagovailoa takes. I mean, it was a tough outing for the Miami Dolphins. It's been tough for them throughout the whole season, right? At the beginning of the season, they were struggling. Tua has the concussion, so he's out for a handful of weeks. But now he's back, and things have looked better on the offensive side. Certainly, I mean, it was totally inept, it feels like, throughout the first half of the season. But Tua against the Houston Texans, 29 for 40, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in this game. He had a 34.5 PFF passing grade, 1 big-time throw, 4 turnover-worthy plays in this one, and that's with an average depth of target of just 5.4. what are we doing with Tua at this point? I mean, it's been a really tough season for Miami overall. I think their offensive line has certainly struggled. I think they've really struggled to get explosive plays out of the running game. That has gone into it. The passing game is not what it was, but with Tua back, it's looked a little bit better. But very clearly, there's been a massive drop-off for this Miami Dolphins offense. What's your thoughts with Tua and where he fits in some of Miami's struggles this season?
Yeah, this is where it is. Like, this is not a great situation right now. The cap is not great for them. They're aging in an important spot, and that's wide receiver 1 with Tyreek, who, when I watch the tape, I don't necessarily see him as a quote-unquote worse player than he ever has been. But the drop, I think it's more his lack of production compared to the first 2 years in Miami is a different factor than his age. But at the same time, every year, there's going to be more and more of a chance that it kind of falls off a cliff, that his production falls off a cliff, because he's going to be like 33 next year or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, eventually, that's tough for a receiver to play in at that position at that age. Obviously, his skill and talent might take him forward more than other receivers. But really, this issue is they do one thing on this offense. They do one thing, and in the passing game. And so Mike McDaniel has been able to dress it up in different formations and different motions and different actions for 2 years now, let's say. And it worked like crazy. And they were getting catch and runs over the middle of the field. And they don't have that anymore, because as much as you want to dress it up, one of the things you can't do is dress up Tua anymore. Like, it's not good. And I don't know if it gets better, and especially doesn't get better if you don't have a true elite number 1 receiver Hall of Famer in Tyreek Hill, and who was at least close to his prime, not just exiting it in those first 2 years in Miami.
Right.
That's scary. They don't have they can't play left-handed, and teams are playing a ton of cover 2 against them, and it's forcing them to play left-handed. I should say right-handed in this case.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you saying that as a strength or a weakness here? Like, they can't play with a left-handed quarterback, or what are you saying here? Are you saying the phrase? You're saying the phrase.
Let me rephrase and say that the Dolphins are having a hard time playing right-handed right now. They see so much cover 2.
Did you see the tweet one time where somebody just mirrored Tua, and he was like, "This is what Tua would look like if he was right-handed," and it looked like just like a Hall of Famer. It was just like all of his best throws, but it was just from a right-handed quarterback. People were like, "Oh, this is incredible."
As a left-handed person and a left-handed
you're lefty
failed quarterback,
I didn't know that.
I still find it weird when I watch lefties play the position. But anyways, that's where we are with Tua. This is not a great situation. It's really not a great situation.
So,
like you said, the explosives in the run game, like Devon Achane. Why am I not saying
Devon Achane? You were close.
Yeah, that's it. He is probably better suited as a number 2 guy, but they haven't gotten really much out of Mostert, so he's been the number 1 guy. Or they kind of decided at the beginning of the year that he was going to be the number 1 guy, and I'm like, it's tough, man. It's tough.
So the tough part about Tua for me, and Dalton pointed this out when we were doing the review show. So Tua's got 4 turnover-worthy plays in this game. The 3 that came in the second quarter, there was 1 early in the second quarter, but then the 2 that were sort of in the late parts of the second quarter.
Same coverage, man.
He throws the same turnover-worthy play.
Same thing.
To the same player in the same coverage. The difference is that Kalen Bullock dropped the first one, and then he picked the second one because he could not see that player, because he could not read that it was going to be inverted cover 2. And look, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Oh, I've done that before at the NFL. Why can't Tua do it? Like, I understand. Like, it's bang stuff. Like, inverted cover 2 it exists for a reason. It's supposed to fool you because you're not used to seeing that type of rotation. It's
supposed to do this exact thing that it did.
100%. But it's supposed to work once, right? Not like once a game, but it's supposed to work like on a drive or a situation. It's supposed to work once. They had it work once, and it bounced off of Caleb Bullock's hands, and he couldn't catch it. And you go, damn, that was it. That was the perfect defensive play call. We called it at the perfect time. We got our player in the right situation, and he dropped it. 5 plays later, they run the same play, and Tua throws it to him again. Like, that's the worrisome part of Tua, is like, he's throwing turnover-worthy plays with an extremely low average depth of target here, where, what was the statistic? He was like...
Well, I'll add in, like...
Yeah, add this, because I'm going to look this up real quick.
This is the issue, is like, when we talked about Tua and those anticipation throws, oh my God, the line, it's whizzing right by the linebacker's head because he's moving in the other direction and Tua's throwing it this way. And it was like, there was a lot of wish casting because a lot of it was just an insane trust in what Mike McDaniel was calling. And now when you see those quote unquote anticipation throws where he's not looking and then he comes back to Tyreek, and whether or not Tyreek rounded his route too much is irrelevant in this play because the safety is going to stand there no matter what. He doesn't see it. He's like, okay, well, it looks like cover 3 to me because the corner went deep. I move my eyes back. I am assuming that safety is going to be very deep and Tyreek Hill is going to be underneath him, and he's not there. So you're just it's a wishful thinking to think like, oh, I'm just going to move my eyes back there and throw it, and it's completion like it has been in the past. And then like you said, Caleb Bullock is standing right there.
So again, I think that when Dalton brought this up, it was a fantastic point by him. The Texans don't play cover 2 a lot. It's just it's not a coverage that they run a lot. They ran cover 2 on
go.
25.
I'm excited. Let's talk. Let's go. I love this.
Okay. All right. Well, the show's about to end, so this is kind of how we're gonna put a bow on it. But the Texans used cover 2 on 25 of 68 snaps, 36.8%. They never really do that. I think that was one of either the highest single game mark, or I know they run cover 2 almost the lowest of any team in the league. But they ran cover 2 way more against the Dolphins, not because it's their identity, not because it's their strength, but because they know that that's how you beat this team. And Tua against cover 2 was 14 of 16 in this game. The 2 throws that were not complete were intercepted in turnover-worthy plays. And he had a 36.4 passing grade under cover 2. So you look at a predominantly like quarters and cover 3 team that never plays cover 2, that shifted completely to play cover 2 because they know that's a recipe to beat you. That is a problem. You got 15 seconds. What do you got? Anything?
I agree. Every team does this to them. Every team plays cover 2 to them. They're seeing cover 2 at the highest rate, and they can't beat it. Thank you. Good night.
There we go. That is the Week 15 quarterback showcase. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. We're going to take a little bit of a break for the holiday season, but we'll be back with you when the regular season is wrapping up and as we get to the playoffs to talk about these quarterbacks more. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Seth Galina saying thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time.